We are now rolling the train along to Indianapolis. We are going to talk about this Colts team, which the biggest question is, if you have two quarterbacks, do you really have a quarterback? That is the question to figure out there in the Indianapolis Colts, a team that were 8-9 on the season, just missing their win total last season. That was set at 8.5. Now they're coming in with a win total of 7.5 for this and a little bit lower expectations here. We are going to talk losses. We are going to talk additions. We're going to get the takeaway for this roster. We'll talk injuries, concerns, speak to the fantasy space, and of course, give away some actionable information, tell you about what our best bets are for this team. Going to kick it off here with the losses. Mr. Joe Flacco coming off the couch and providing a bump for this team down the road as rinse and repeat. Anthony Richardson could not finish the season, but he's gone. He's now in Cleveland vying for the QB1 spot over there. You then have some changes on the offensive line. You know that you lose two starters on the offensive line in Fries and Glowinski, and then Kelly there Kelly and Fries going over to Minnesota. Dayo Odeyingbo going to Chicago. Good linebacker in EJ Speed going over the Texans. Again, another good player going to a rival. And then Julian Blackmon the Saints, and kicker Matt Gay is with the Commandos. The additions, I guess we have to say Daniel Jones is a major addition. As a Giants fan, I don't know if that's majorly good, but he's vying for the quarterback one spot. I mean, there's a real open competition. And so we'll see how that goes. Khalil Herbert coming over from the Bengals there after being traded from the Bears last season. Tyler Warren, their number one draft pick there, the first round draft pick. Second round, JT Tuimoloau coming from Ohio State. And then picking up Neville Gallimore, Charvarius Ward from the AFC West, and Cameron Bynum coming over from the Minnesota Vikings. So not a ton of losses or additions, but some impactful ones really that are going to have an effect on this season. So what say you? How are we looking with this 2025 roster?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big question is who's going to be the quarterback? Going to be Anthony AR-15 Richardson, or is it going to be Danny Dumps? We don't know what's going to go on at quarterback. I think we definitely have one of probably the two open competitions happening in Indy, and ultimately whoever they go with, it'd be interesting to see how long of a leash they give them. But other than that, you have the same crew when it comes to the skill positions on offense, running back and wide receiver, which is a pretty solid group. You add Tyler Warren at the running or the tight end position, which is a major upgrade. I definitely have some questions along that offensive line because they've had a solid offensive line that just hasn't been able to stay healthy the last couple of years. But you bring in some new faces. You still have Quentin Nelson there, who's an obvious stud. But defensively, again, have a couple new guys stepping in. I think speed's probably the biggest loss there, and Julian Blackmon as well. But they do have a pretty athletic defense with guys that can come up and make some major plays. JT Tuimoloau, definitely one of my guys coming out of Ohio State that I liked. But at this standpoint, he's slated to be a backup. We'll see where he kind of fits into that rotation. But from a Colts team, they didn't make a ton of changes, and I don't know if that's necessarily going to change my outlook of them from last year up until this year.
Yeah. I would say to the people of Indianapolis and to Colts fans everywhere, ensure you have a good relationship with your doctor this season. You're going to need some prescription for some pretty strong.
Either that or your liquor cabinet.
Or depends how you're going. But man, the headaches that are going to come, whether it's Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. Anthony Richardson, since he's been in high school, just has never really finished a season.
Yeah,
he struggled with injuries at the University of Florida. He struggled with injuries in his NFL career. It's just, he's built like a tank, but he plays like a maniac, and he has not been able. Like, part of his game is running people.
He's a seasoned tank that has gone into plenty of battles, and Might have a couple screws loose at this point.
Squeaky wheels, man. Like and you don't want him to play scared. You don't want he's not a pocket passer.
Right.
So I mean, he's barely
You
hitting a
want him to be the
50%
athletic
completion.
freak that he
Yeah,
is.
but he's gonna get injured. So
Right.
it's a very tough situation. So he's the more talented guy, but he's someone that you just can't trust. And then on the other side, Danny Dumps, as you mentioned, he's got that neck injury. He's coming off, he's had an ACL tear, and he just. I mean, I hate to say it. I've done my share of defending Daniel Jones, but I don't think either of these guys are a capable NFL starting quarterback for a quality team. So that's where it kind of starts and ends with me. I can't get past the quarterback room. I agree with you. How hey, their defense on paper looks pretty darn good. I like the secondary pieces. I like the defensive line. Linebacker a little unproven, but Zaire Franklin's a beast. O-line, can they get where they were one of the better groups? We'll see. I love Jonathan Taylor. I think the wide receiver room is not bad, but again, I just can't get past the quarterback room. But let's move on to some injury situations here. A couple guys dealing with some things, Zaire Franklin coming off an ankle scope in the offseason. A scope is, again, more of a cleanup. Nothing really too serious there. We're just kind of waiting for him to get back mold there. Any major concerns with Franklin?
No, not really. I think it's just one of those nagging things that he took care of in the offseason like he's supposed to, unlike some other guys that we've talked about on past episodes, and waiting like a Will Levis, waiting until 2 weeks before training camp to have shoulder surgery. But I don't have too many. I'm not too concerned.
Yeah, and same thing with linebacker Jalen Carleys and Jalen Jones, dealing with a couple of different things there. Not expected to be major and really kind of influence this
ultimately
season.
Coming in fairly healthy, but at the same time, a couple guys that you need to watch out, just because you mentioned it. Their linebacking room outside of Zaire Franklin is very unproven, and you have Franklin coming off of an offseason ankle.
Yeah, linebacker is definitely the position group with the most question marks coming into the season. So they've got a couple guys banged up. So they need just watch, monitor, but the expectation is they'll be good to go for week 1 at this point in the offseason. All right, let's go on to the betting space here. 8-9 team last year, win total 7.5. Over +105 on FanDuel, -110 on DraftKings, under a little bit of juice depending where you get it. Make playoffs round 2-1 +200. Miss playoffs -250-ish. To win the AFC South +330 to +60. To win the AFC, pretty wide variety. FanDuel has it as 36-1. DraftKings has it as 50-1. And then to win the Super Bowl, 85-1 on FanDuel and 120-1 on DraftKings. So if you're in on this team, go to DraftKings and get those futures. But if you have logic in a brain, you probably not. So I'll let you lead us off here. What plays do you have for this Indianapolis Colts team?
Yeah, I mean, you led off the Colts with a question as far as, if you have 2 quarterbacks, do you have any? And ultimately, I think Shane Steichen is in for a lot of headaches. He might be checking out his liquor cabinet a couple times throughout the season, because I don't know if you can trust Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. So I went with the under 7.5 wins at -110. Again, their defense has some really, really solid pieces. I really like their front four. Linebackers could be a solid unit. Just depends on how they develop. And they brought in some pieces in the back end that should be helpful. But offensively, outside of Jonathan Taylor, I don't know what we're going to get. And I think Shane Steichen is one of those coaches that can draw up a pretty good game plan. I just don't know if Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson can follow a game plan and not necessarily, stay on the field or keep the ball on the Colts. So I went with the under.
Yeah. I'm gonna, co-sign that absolutely. 7.5 -110 over at DraftKings. I'm gonna take it a step further. Instead of I don't know if you can trust, I'm gonna say I cannot trust Daniel Jones nor Anthony Richardson to lead this team to a successful season. Anthony Richardson, his deal is more staying on the field and hitting the, wide side of the barn. Daniel Jones is taking any shots and not turning the ball right? And it's just not what you want out of your quarterback. So
Right.
going the under there, it's probably our most simplistic take on a team, but it's the most important position. And we don't even know who's going to be out there week 1. So I'm also going to play the variance here on this team. I'm going to play it in the sense of giving them the fewest wins in the NFL at 17-1 over on DraftKings. I think there's a situation where, Anthony Richardson does what he does, which is goes down. And, at some point in the year, he's not an option. And then you rely on Daniel Jones, who, whether just due to his inability to move the ball, his propensity for turnovers, or his ability to get injured, I think there's a real situation where this is just an absolute dumpster fire, and we see Riley Leonard or Jason Bean, taking snaps week 16, 17, like getting some, well, let's just see what we have, because at this point we're blowing it all up. I understand, they do have some solid players, but if you can't get them the damn ball, then what is it worth anything? So I think it's the ability for both of these quarterbacks to, low completion percentage, high turnover rate. That's a recipe for disaster. So even if that defense is pretty solid, they're going to be put in a lot of bad situations. And I think that, this is a situation where this team's going to look midway through the season and they've got absolute dog shit in the quarterback room, and it's just hard to be inspired. So that's where I'm going with this team. What about you? Any player props that you like?
Yeah, I mean, they brought in a really talented tight end in Tyler Warren in the offseason. I don't know if he's going to have much of a rookie season, to be honest with you. So I'm going the under 525.5 receiving yards at -110.
Right.
Just looking back at last year, I mean, they had 3 tight ends reel in passes throughout the year, or 4, excuse me. If we put them together, they don't go over 500 yards. So I don't know how, Tyler Warren, yes, he is an incredibly talented football player coming out of Penn State. I don't think Shane Steichen uses him. And I don't know if the quarterbacks necessarily have figured out that the tight end's usually a pretty safe dump off option, when it comes to throwing the ball. So I'm taking Tyler Warren's under.
No, I actually really like that play, and I like Tyler Warren as a player. I think his blocking ability is going to come up huge. I think this is going to have to be a run first team, both using the quarterback's legs, which is going to lead to some injuries, and relying on Jonathan Taylor. But I mean, let's be honest, he's probably the 4th or 5th option in the passing game. We know Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones are not getting to their 4th or 5th read, right? That's probably going to be the defense before anybody else. So I like this play. It seems like
honestly,
a low number.
He might end up taking some snaps at quarterback at the end of the season, because
just running Wildcat the whole time.
At Penn State, they threw him in everywhere. So
exactly.
Tyler Warren might end up being your 3rd string running back, your 3rd string quarterback. Who knows?
Yeah, and I think this is a guy who, a couple of years when they actually get the quarterback situation figured out, like I think, with the right quarterback,
great prospect. I just don't know if he's going to be able to step in and do much.
Exactly. So I like that there. My one player prop for this, I told you I was going to kind of get on their variance a little bit. So yes, I'm on the under. Yes, I'm on the fewest wins, but I'm also going to take Jonathan Taylor most yards in the NFL at 10-1. Okay. I know it's a little bit counter, intuitive as far as if I think this team's going to be pretty bad, but it's a little bit of, a little bit of a hedge of, hey, if this whole run first approach, the offensive line takes a step forward, they're running a version of we're going to run the ball 30, 40 times a game. It's a little bit of the Ravens mentality of, do I go after Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor, or do I have to deal with the quarterback situation? I just think Jonathan Taylor is one of the most talented players in the NFL. He already had a season where he had 1,800 yards. I think that could, do it. I think he could get to that 2,000-yard mark there in the 17 games. So give me Jonathan Taylor, most regular season rushing yards, 10-1. I like the price. I think it's, it's a race between him, Barkley, and Henry there. And Henry and Barkley just had like the most optimal seasons they could have. Yes. So for them to either, whether it's injuries or a situation where they're a couple games off or whatever, I don't think it's, unreasonable to think Jonathan Taylor can kind of dethrone them in that league there.
Right.
All right, the Colts 2025 season. Unfortunately, when you go into the season with major questions at quarterback, we're going to say we have major questions about your team. And that is exactly where we are with the Indianapolis Colts. We're both taking under 7.5, minus 110 over at DraftKings. Derek is fading Tyler Warren, the rookie there, mostly because is he even the fourth or fifth best option in the receiving games? And neither of the quarterbacks can get to that progression. I am going to take the huge variance case that it's an awful situation. No quarterback. The team gives up. They get the fewest wins at 17-1. But I do love Jonathan Taylor, so I've got to grab a piece of him to lead the NFL in rushing at 10-1 there.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.